Alright, back to the database. Locations, not locations, landmarks. Havana, Castillo Morro. It looks pretty much the same as the other ones. Interesting. Built in 1589 to protect Havana's bay from pirates and foreign invaders, the Castillo de los Tres Reyes Magos del Morro is an imposingly solid structure. Its mere presence put a stop to any raids on the city of Havana until the British invaded during the War of Jenkins' Ear in 1762. Okay. So what is this then? Castillo Morro? Where is this? Morro Castle Fortress. Am I looking at the right thing? It's in Havana. But where is it? Castillo Morro is... Oh, okay, it's there. Alright, so it's... I don't know if I can get to it. So it's this one, if I can get it. It's that there, but it doesn't seem to actually be in the game. It doesn't seem to be actually in the game. So there's like 3 forts, right? But 2 of them are outside the city limits, and I don't know if I can actually get out there. Morro Castle? Named after the 3 biblical Magi. Magi? Is it Magi or Magi? Is a fortress guarding the... No, shut up guys, shut up. Is a fortress guarding the entrance to Havana Bay in Havana, Cuba. So this one is actually in the right place because it's at the mouth of the harbor, so it can engage pirates before they get inside the harbor. The design was drawn up by the Italian engineer Juan Bautista Antonelli, originally under the control of Spain. The fortress was captured by the British in 1762 and was returned to the Spanish under treaty terms a year later. The Morro Fortress in Havana shares its name with structures in Santiago de Cuba and the Castello de San Felipe del Morro in San Juan, Puerto Rico. In this case, the Spanish Morro means a rock which is very visible from the sea and therefore serves as a navigational landmark. Perched on the promontory on the opposite side of the harbor from Old Havana, it can be viewed for miles around as it dominates the port entrance. Built initially in 1589 in response to raids on Havana harbor, El Morro protected the mouth of the harbor with a chain being strung out across the water to the fort at La Puente. Alright, so it was a major piece of fortification. So the 2 forts we can kind of see on the 2 sides. Can we get on top of this thing? Let me see if I can... No, I can't, can I? Alright, we can't get on top of this thing. But maybe we can jump into the water. Or go out to the rock. Let me just go out to the rocks here. So... Oh crap, can't see it neither. Can I just look at this? Alright, so it's not in the game. And we can't even... Alright, so there's one of them. There's the other one. There's the Morro on that side. And there's the other fort. And they put a chain across the mouth of the harbor to stop ships from attacking. If you remember from Assassin's Creed Revelations, they do the same thing in Istanbul, in Constantinople, in Byzantium. They put a chain at the mouth of the harbor to block ships if they were invaded. So this is the other fort, which is too far into the harbor to be useful. So we can see it from a distance, we can't go out there though. Not in the game. What else does it say? 7 Years' War. It first saw action in 1762 while under command of Luis Vicente de Velasco Isla. The British expedition against Cuba under Lord Albemarle landed in Colima to the east of Havana and attacked the fortress from its landward side. The fort fell when the British successfully mined one of its bastions. When the British handed the island back in 1763 to Spain, the fortress at La Cabana was built to prevent this from happening again. So, this fortress was taken by the English, and then when they returned the city back to Spain, they built another fortress to protect this fortress. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. You build a fortress to defend the city, and then you build another fortress to defend that fortress, and then you build another fortress to defend that fortress. It makes sense. Inside the gates is an exhibition on the lighthouses of Cuba. I don't think that's important. We don't need to know that. So it's kind of in the game, like we can see it in the distance, but not really. Landmarks Havana. So the third one, Castillo San Salvador de la Puente, part of a system of fortifications built to protect Havana Bay from incursions by French corsairs. The fortress was begun in 1590 and took decades to complete. The fortress is close enough to the nearby Castillo Morro to permit a heavy iron chain to be extended between them that could be tightened to block incursions by enemy ships. So that's the other one on the opposite side. Castillo San Salvador. Castillo San Salvador. Salvador. So if we actually, let me just go back to the map. So that one is that one. Okay, so it's that one, the Morro, and that one, the San Salvador there. That makes sense. Clearly, that makes much more sense than having a fort back here. Alright, so the one we want to look at is this. Let's see what it says. San Salvador de la Puente Fortress is a fortress on the Bay of Havana, Cuba. La Puente, just like El Morro, was designed to protect the entrance to the Havana Bay that became an important and strategic entranceway to the harbor since the settlement of the town. The non-stop landings of corsairs in the area endangered the harbor and the town. That was why in 1559 it was resolved to post lookouts on La Puente. In 1582, the King Philip II, convinced that it was necessary to reinforce fortresses and fleets, ordered the creation of a fortress system in several places of America, having its center in Havana. To fulfill the task, Juan de Tejeda was appointed governor of the island because of his expertise in the matter of fortifications. He brought along the Italian engineer Juan Bautista Antonelli, who has been considered the most renowned professional to practice in the 16th century Cuba. The works began in 1590 and went on slowly. In 1595, a hurricane severely damaged the fortress, among other reasons, due to the thinness of its walls that were then more solidly rebuilt. By 1602, there was such a delay in the construction work that the engineer decided to make the fortress into a keep holding some 10 to 12 artillery pieces. Finally, as the years went by, it was taken apart, leaving just 3 bastions. What a failure! In 1630, due to the short distance between La Puente and El Morro and to increase the protection of the bay, a heavy copper chain was laid between them. This chain can be appreciated in some of the engravings of that time. Really? So basically they were gonna build a fortress, but that took too long, so they turned it into a keep. Then that took too long, so they just left 3 bastions, and that's it. In 1762, as a consequence of the fighting during the British expedition against Cuba, the English superiority took its toll on all the fortresses. The safety curtains and bastions of La Puente Castle were destroyed during the invasion. At this time, a chain branching out several directions and held by heavy wooden beams was laid. Its ends were tied to guns set in at La Puente and El Morro. Some fragments of this piece still remains. I don't think that did very much. Later on, with the Spanish were back in power, A new governor arrived, fixing and enlarging the fortification system. In the 19th century, some changes, such as the four esplan built to accommodate a corresponding number of artillery pieces, were added to La Punta. Okay, so the one we have now is actually bigger than the one that was there back then. The castle in 1997, under an intense work of restoration by the city's historian office, that gave it its original position on the rocks. Thanks to this work, cannons that whoever wrote this needs to learn more English. The work cannons that were engraved. No, I can't even read that. That makes no sense. Anyway, some restoration work happened in 1997. Unfortunately, these articles don't have very much information. Is that a tunnel? So now there's a tunnel. Oh, I see. So there's a tunnel across the mouth of the harbor. I guess it would be impolite to put a giant bridge there, given how that it's a historic part of the city. So there it is. It's not actually in the game, but we can kind of see it in the distance. Alright, the Cathedral of Havana. Let's run over there first, before we start reading about it. If I can find it, that is. The cathedral is that thing, I believe. Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it's interesting to note that all these landmarks are either fortresses or cathedrals. Right, because that's where people spend their money, on God and on stopping pirates from killing them. Which is you know, makes sense. I guess all the buildings are interesting in some way, it's just that not historically significant enough for anyone to write about them. Bit of a shame, because often you can learn a lot about the architectural styles of the time from looking at the ordinary buildings and not just the landmarks. Right, here's the cathedral, and it is quite large, although maybe not as long as it should be. We'll check that in real life. I think it's too short. I think the front looks right. The front might even be full size. Alright, so there it is. Database, enemies, landmarks. The Cathedral of Havana, construction of the Cathedral de la Virgen Maria de la Concepción Inmaculada de la Habana. What's with the big long names? Was started in 1748 and finished in 1777. That's pretty fast for a cathedral. Note that the fortresses took longer to build. A mesmerizing example of Baroque aesthetics, the building's obvious asymmetry and curious construction material, coral taken from the ocean nearby, make this one of the most unique houses of worship in the world and one of the most iconic landmarks in the West Indies. It's built out of coral. 1748 is far too late for this virtual experience. Around 1720, it would be a small, rough church rising from drained swampland. Alright, so basically they're fudging the dates. They're talking about it here. Yeah, so it was built after the game takes place, of course, but here we are. They put it into the game. So it's built out of coral? Can we see that in the textures? Kind of. I guess it looks kind of like coral. Why can't you stairs? Why can't you, okay, stairs. Okay. So let's have a look at this. Um, what's it called? What's it called in real life? So the cathedral should be um somewhere. Wait a minute. Why is everything in the wrong place in the game? Wait a minute. Shouldn't it just be... It should be really obvious, right? There's a massive cathedral in the middle of the city. Why can I not see it? Is it... Oh, is it there? No, that's a skyscraper. What? How can I not see it? Oh, it's here? It's here. What? Well, we found it. It's a different shape. It's taller. Okay, let's go. Cathedral. Fortress, cathedral, great theater. Hmm. Really? It's not in the list? This is the weirdest thing. Okay, what's it called? Cath Cathedral. Um, I forgot what it's called. It's a really long name. There's also a dog looking at me in the game. And it was no, not shanties. Landmarks, Havana. Cathedral de la Virgin. This one, Maria de la. This one. Okay, it's Havana Cathedral. Okay, we could have just done this. It's there. Okay, the Cathedral of the Virgin Mary of the Immaculate Conception is one of 11 Roman Catholic cathedrals on the island of Cuba, located in the Plaza de la Cathedral in Havana. The Havana Cathedral is found in the center of Old Havana. This 34 by 35 meter rectangle church serves as the seat of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of San Cristobal de la Habana, which overlooks 7,542 square kilometers of the island and 2.8 million Catholics. Architectural features: the church was built in a Baroque style with several Tuscan elements, and is considered one of the best examples of Baroque architecture in Cuba. The building itself is mostly made up of coral, which was cut from the copious amounts of coral rock that could be found in the nearby Gulf of Mexico's ocean floor. If you look closely, you can find preserved marine fossils within the outer wall of the facade. Hey, that's fun. The facade was designed with asymmetrical features, seeing that the right bell tower is larger than the left, or wider than the left. That same larger tower consists of two bells that were cast with gold and silver mixed into bronze, which gives them an elegant and sweeter tone. The cathedral is said to be the only example of a Baroque facade with such a distinctive asymmetrical features such as this. This feature served a particular purpose. The asymmetrical bell towers allow for water that tended to accumulate on the plaza after heavy rainfall to freely flow through the streets and out to the ocean. What? You made the whole cathedral asymmetrical just to allow rain to flow into the ocean? You couldn't just, I don't know, make a gutter or something? That makes no sense. The plaza is located where a swamp once was, which was subsequently drained for construction and used as a naval dockyard. hence why water tended to accumulate so rapidly during the colonial period. The cathedral can be categorized as having an earlier Cuban Baroque facade because of its many curves and double curves that turn into column-like pilaster structures within the facade. These pilasters have very little practical significance and are primarily ornamental. The use of pediments is another defining Baroque feature that can be seen when directly facing the cathedral. Despite its grandiose exterior, the inside of the building is much more simple, and many would even say it could be seen as austere. Before its cleansing of excess ornamentation in the 19th century, the interior of the cathedral was once extremely ornate. The cathedral's interior neoclassical style consists of white and black marble floors, 3 naves covered with wooden vaults, massive stone pillars, and 8 chapels. Alright, so it used to be ornate, but at some point it was stripped of ornamentation on the interior. The exterior... Hi dog. Hi doggy. Hey you. Get petted, it probably has sliced or something. So the facade is asymmetrical, apparently. And... Nope. Not in the game they're not. In the game they're exactly the same. The towers are the same. Is the facade symmetrical? Hold on. Is the facade symmetrical or is it just a tree? The facade is symmetrical, isn't it? It is. What the? How could you get this wrong? The tower, one tower should be wider than the other. What is even happening right now? So it's... Let me just step it out, right? Let me just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 steps. And then we come to this side. If we get down the stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a... One tower is supposed to be wider than the other. I don't know why they would do that. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? It's supposed to be asymmetrical. But they're the same. Alright, well, there's that. And so the Baroque features, if you're wondering what they were talking about, the curves and such. So if you stand here and look up, you see how these columns are not flat. You see how there's like a curve. They curve. There's like an inward curve here. I can't see actually. Let me just step back a little bit. So you see how it curves there and it curves there. That's Baroque. So where the old Greek temples and the Renaissance architecture, it's all square. Like they have rectangle plans, and all the columns line up in a line into like a rectangle. But in Baroque, they kind of put all these wacky curves in and make everything curve in and out and do all sorts of crazy things. They put everything on different angles. So you can see how like these columns, this column on top of my head there, and that column there, it's like it's turned around so that the corner sticks out at us. And then of course these ones just kind of curve out and then they spin around like that. So that's Baroque. Baroque is basically taking these columns and other architectural features and just doing wacky things with them and bending them in and out like that. So yeah. I mean, not entirely sure why they did that. I guess they just they thought it'd be cool. I guess they thought the rectangles were too boring, so they put more curves in. I mean, it's interesting. I just don't really follow the logic, if there is logic. I think mostly it's that people had money, and they didn't want to do the same thing over and over again for several centuries. So in order to kind of distinguish themselves and to kind of be inventive, they kind of did wacky shapes with the columns and things. I think that there's more history here. Alright. As more and more native and indigenous Cubans were converted to Catholicism, the need for churches grew quickly every day. One of the largest missionary groups within the island were priests of the relatively new Society of Jesus, also known as Jesuits. Many requests for construction had been denied by Havana City's Authority General. After heavy petitioning and Diego Evelino Hurtado de Compostela's Bishop of Santiago de Cuba at the time purchase of a piece of land in the plaza, a permit was finally granted to these missionaries. The cathedral is currently set in the former Plaza de la Plenaga. In 1727, plans to build a church, convent, and collegium were approved and begun to take form. The situation was less than ideal considering its location, but construction took form nonetheless. I think they mean it's on a swamp. The construction of the cathedral was started by the Jesuit order in 1748 on the site of an earlier church and finished many years later in 1717, well after King Carlos III expelled the same Jesuits from the island in 1767. Okay, well, I mean, clearly there were some disagreements between the crown and the missionaries. The cathedral is also dedicated to St. Christopher, thus it is sometimes called the Cathedral of St. Christopher. Legend has it that the remains of Christopher Columbus once resided within the cathedral. In 1796, after the Peace of Basel was signed and Spain gave up most of its colony of Hispaniola to France, the remains of Christopher Columbus were moved and laid to rest in the cathedral's altar of the Gospel. The gravestone read, remains an image of great Columbus be preserved 1,000 years in the funerary urn. The remains were moved once more in 1898 back to Spain after the Cuban War of Independence. The cathedral went through final renovations from 1946 to 1949. Cuban architect Cristobal Martinez Marquez headed this project and through complex architectural procedures achieved in giving the church a more open and grandiose space, which let in more light and improved its ventilation system. The cathedral currently serves as the seat of Jaime Lucas Ortega y Alamino, the Cardinal Archbishop of Havana, Cuba. Alright, so there's artwork within as well. St. Christopher statue. Why is he holding a baby? And then photos. Alright, cool. So that's the Havana Cathedral. These articles are kind of short. Not many people doing their research doctorates in Cuba, I guess. Or at least no one that makes it to Wikipedia. A bit of a shame, because some of this stuff sounds kind of interesting. They really made this thing symmetrical, even though it's deliberately not symmetrical. I don't know why. Is it symmetrical? Hold on. Column, door, column, door. Yeah, it's well. That door actually. Notice this door here. Notice the space between this column and this door. And then the space between this column, nope, it's the same. It's exactly the same on both sides. Interesting decision. An interesting decision. No idea who was responsible for that. So there's the governor's mansion. I guess that's the last thing we have to look at. The governor's mansion housed the acting Spanish governor in addition to prison facilities. A new governor's mansion was constructed across the square in 1791. Is that a thing that we can find in the so that's the governor's mansion, right? Let me just go back. I remember in the game saying how interesting it was that the entrance to the governor's mansion was this corridor that goes up a hill, and so it improved the defensive capabilities of the whole complex. Not sure if that's gonna be seen in real life. Alright, I just stood on a woman. Governor's mansion should be back here. I don't know if we can go in. we finished the game and it's still a restricted area. So if we try to go in, we're gonna have to fight through some dudes. Is it back here? No, that's the edge of the city. Oh, there it is. Governor's Mansion. Looks like that. It's quite impressive, isn't it? Although, yeah, if we want to go inside, we're gonna have to kill some people. Hopefully we don't have to kill people. Can we just climb in? Oh, hi guys. Get stabbed. Alright, let's see if we can get in here. So there's all this. What? What? Okay, well. Apparently I timed the block wrong. So the governor's mansion. So there's this, there's a garden out here. And then there's the thing there. Let me just walk up. Ah, get booted. Oh crap, why are there so many guys with guns? Another guy. Oh, he's too far away. What? Hey, stop punching me in the face, bro. Alright, as soon as we deal with these guys, we're gonna look at architecture. Okay, so the mansion has a, well, it does have a pool, kind of. It looks like that. So this is a very good example of Spanish colonial architecture. Like you see the arches and also the porticos, or not the porticos, what are they called? Basically, you have these like porches. So there's the building, there's the wall, and then there's like a further structure in front of it to shade the building itself from the sun, because it's quite hot in Cuba, but also kind of humid. So you want large open galleries to allow the wind to flow through your building, but then you want to keep the sun out, and so you have these kind of wide porches on the outside of the building, and that's a very distinctive feature of colonial Spanish architecture. Alright, so is it actually here in real life? Again, it's massive in the game, but is it this? No, that's a convent. Huh. Well, wherever it is, governor's mansion. I don't. Governor mansion. I don't know. Governor's mansion. Havana. The palace of the capital general. It's somewhere out. Oh, it's not, but it's not. This is the. Oh, wait, this is it. But where is it? It says it's. Wait a minute. It says it's there. It's here. That's a completely different thing. The Palacio de los Capitanes Generales is the former official residence of the governors, Captains General of Havana, Cuba. Located on the eastern side of the Plaza de Armas in Old Havana, it is home to the Museum of the City of Havana. It houses exhibitions of art and historical artifacts, and many of the rooms are preserved with the original colonial decoration. So the galleried upper story of the Palacio blah 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 looks down in the central courtyard. This is a completely different building. I mean, I don't know if we should read about this because it's literally a completely different building from what we have in the game. Is this fiction? The plan for the building was put forward to the city council on the 28th of January 1773, but the governor Felipe de Fondesviela y Ondiano, Marquis de la Torre, he proposed that the parochial mayor church be demolished, the square be redesigned in keeping with the grandeur of the developing city, and the Palacio de los Capitanes Generales constructed on the eastern side of the square in imitation of Royal Post Office, which would later become the Palacio del Segundo Cabo, the residence of the vice-governors, which had been constructed on the northern side of the square alongside the Castillo de la Real Fuerza. Construction from the designs of the Cuban engineer and architect. This is a different building. This is a different building. Unless there's another one. No, architect. Okay, no. So we see Assassin's Creed 4 references. So it's one of these things where the game just completely made up a fictional building and put it into the game. Although it's vaguely the same style. It's vaguely the same style and vaguely the same colors. But in just a completely different location. Yeah, you see how... What is this? In Assassin's Creed? Built in Minecraft. Oh, somebody built it in Minecraft. Cool. So, yeah, it's just, it's vaguely the same style, but a completely different building. Alright, well, there's no point trying to look up that in real life. It's well designed though, like whoever designed this, maybe it's a copy of a different building completely. The game doesn't really tell us what exactly it is. Oh well, that's too bad. It's a nice building, look at that, it's even an outdoor sitting area like this, that's kind of cool. Oh, this is where we looked at the map with the Templars. Alright, I think this is pretty much all of Havana. I don't think the other stuff is all that interesting. There was like the ramparts and other things like that. Landmarks, Havana... Assassin's Bureau, like that's obviously fictional. There's the prisons, I mean prisons are prisons. Fortified walls of a castle or walled city, ramparts, yeah, that's not even historic. Alright, so that's all of Havana. Should we go straight to Kingston and Nassau, or should I take a break? I'm going to take a break here. So that's the architecture of Havana, in the game at least. When we come back, we look at Kingston and we look at Nassau. And that's just, I mean, you can see that the list is kind of small. So there's not too much to look at. Alright, so I'll see you guys in Kingston in the next video.